Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to jump into the Dungeon Master's Guide and look at a magic user's good friend, the Pearl of Power. Pearls of Power are really neat. Pearl of Power, the seemingly normal pearl of average size and coloration, is a potent aid to a magic user. Once a day, a Pearl of Power enables the possessor to recall any one spell as desired, even if the spell has already been... I gotta tilt this up a little bit. Even if the spell has already been cast. Of course, the magic user must have the spell to be remembered amongst those he or she most recently memorized. The power of the pearl is determined below. 1 through 25, you recall a first level spell. 26 through 45, a second. 46 through 60, a third. 61 to 75, a fourth. 76 to 85, a fifth. 86 to 92, a sixth. 93 to 96, the seventh. 97 to 98, an eighth. 99 and ninth, and Double Out recalls 2 spells of 1st to 6th level power, and you throw a 6-sider to determine which 2 spells those are. And then it says 1 in 20 of these pearls is the opposite effect, causing a spell to be forgotten. Those pearls, the cursed ones, can only be gotten rid of by means of exorcism or a wish. So that's a pretty powerful cursed item too. But coming back to the Pearl of Power itself, it's an normal pearl of average size and coloration. That means it's intrinsically valuable to most people because, after all, it is a it is a pearl. So the idea that you could just see this in a pile and just decide it was treasure if you didn't use detect magic or something is very possible. In fact, I had that happen long time ago in the 80s. I had a fighter who was up for his next magic item, and they had detected the pearl as magical. So he said, yeah, I'll take the pearl. Well, the pearl didn't do him any good. But this fighter was one of those guys and decided he's going to hang on to it. He had figured out pretty much what it was, but he decided he was going to hang on to it and keep it away from anybody else using. I didn't think it was very cool, but it's players get to have their own decisions when they play their characters, so I didn't really do anything about it. And that player eventually, I think he retired the character. I think it still had the pearl with him. He left our campaign, but he played with us for years. So kind of a move I didn't care for, and not one I necessarily would have done, depending on the situation, but it's something that happened. The other thing to remember, of course, the Pearl of Power works for the magic user, but it also, at least at my table, would work for an illusionist, since illusionist is a subclass of magic user. I think that's a core rule, but certainly at my table that would be the case. Also, the level of the spell recalled by the pearl on a random chart. I rarely use the random chart simply because if I give one of these pearls out, I kind of want it to be used. This is a good item that can be given as low as 4th or 5th level, but I would keep it that it was a spell that the magic user, or that spell level a magic user could actually already do. So if it was 5th level, magic user can cast up to 3rd level spells. I would make sure that the pearl was either 1st, 2nd, or 3rd level spell recall, just so it had some utility for the player immediately. There's nothing wrong with building these for the future. I had a player at the table who had one for 6th level, and he was very excited. He was about 10th when he got it. He had to be 12th to use the power of the pearl, but he was really excited because it meant that when he got to 12th level, he would be able to memorize a 6th level spell, but he'd be able to cast it twice in a day. So he was pretty excited about that, and he was excited to work toward it, and he did. He eventually made 12th level over many games and was able to use the Pearl of Power to good effect. As far as the recalling 2 spells of 1st through 6th, I've given out one that I remember ended up being a 2nd and 3rd level that could be recalled. And the important thing in the power too is to remember that you can cast a spell even if you've already cast it. So this thing is great if you only want to take, say, 1 knock spell for the day, and a situation comes up that you need another knock spell. If you haven't used the power of the pearl for the day, you get an opportunity to cast that all-important 2nd knock spell. So like scrolls, where you can have duplicate spells waiting for your use, this is a really good item for that. As far as the cursed version, I've never given that out. I think making something have an exorcism or a wish to get rid of it is a little too difficult, especially if it's only eliminating a first or second level spell from your memory. I think that's a pretty strong penalty, but I don't ever remember giving out a cursed Pearl of Power. I've given out cursed items in the past. I learned my lesson as a young DM not to give out too many of those because they ruin characters. They really can. You give them out thinking, oh, it'll be fun. The players will go on a quest and they'll remove this particular curse. And a lot of times the player doesn't want to play the character while he's under the curse, depending on what the curse is. I had a guy who had a cursed sword that made him -2/-2 in combat. He had a very difficult time staying with that character long enough to get the curse removed. So he did it, but he didn't really enjoy those games very much. So I'm careful about cursed items, especially an item like this that's going to require such a high level spell to get rid of it, either an exorcism or a full wish. But I love the Pearl of Power. I think it's an incredibly useful thing. I have one on my spellcaster, my magic user, Stormcrow. I have one, I believe it's for 5th level, which is incredibly useful because now I have an extra 5th level spell. But it's a good thing to have. It's something nice to have in your pocket, literally, and waiting for your chance to go ahead and use it. As I said, though, as the DM, you got to be careful to kind of make it known that this should go to the magic user in some way. Sometimes I'm as bold as just say, well, the Pearl's calling out to the magic user, simply to keep useful treasure from sitting in the pouch of someone else who just can't use it. But that's just my table, the way I do it. But there you have it, the Pearl of Power, a multifaceted, no pun intended, I know pearls don't have facets, but it just got me thinking, but a multifaceted magic item for use at your table. As I said, I don't give these out much prior to the magic user being about 5th level, but once they're up above that level, they're not really game unbalancing, so I don't really have much of a problem after that. You could give one of these out to a magic user who's 1st level, to let it cast a 1st level spell or even 2nd level spell and let them aspire to it. It's not really going to undo your game that much. I'm just a little stingy with these, that's all. But that's all I got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought. Please leave comments below. Like and subscribe if you would. Take a look at the Patreon. Help me out there. And I'll see you next time on page 121.